Welcome back for another edition of Rick Corey Sports Special. Now it's time we turn our attention to the Union Redhawks. Their head coach is with us. That is Kirk Fridrich. And, well, a 3-1, and none of it's been easy. I mean, it never is in Oklahoma high school football, but you find ways to win. And I wouldn't certainly call it art in Santa Fe, but you got to win. You've had a chance to look at the film. What are your thoughts now?
Yeah, you know, people talk about clean games and unclean games. This one was definitely dirty. I think there were 270 yards and penalties between the two teams, and we had our fair share of those, and which you don't want to see. And we talk a lot about trying to make sure that we don't lose to ourselves, and
Yeah.
there were many times that we were behind the chains. On some of those were effort penalties, which you can correct and you can do, and then some of them just unforced. And so we've got to do a better job of playing a cleaner game. And I thought we played better offensively, but the penalties just kind of overshadowed some of those big explosive plays and made it tough on us. And then defensively, getting some great stops and then a few times, some busting coverage. But I thought up front, our guys played really well. But like you said, it definitely wasn't art by any means. It was a gritty performance by our guys, and Tucker Cook played really well defensively, and I think he had a couple of sacks, caused a fumble, and had some punishing hits on the quarterback, which I think really helped us. And having Jesse Jones back in the offensive line was really key for us, and getting him in there and helping kind of shore up the interior. He played really well in the offensive line, and Gavin continues to improve as a kicker. Had a great
Yes.
field goal that helped us out, 34-yard field goal. Continues to have a stronger leg and do a good job for us.
Now that you look, I'm thinking about some of the guys you're rolling through there, and I was thinking too about not only about Cook, but I saw a lot of guys rotating in that defensive front that maybe at the beginning of the year wasn't sure if they were going to do that. And you're getting some pretty valuable minutes out of some guys, even though not a lot of plays, pretty valuable plays. A lot of those dudes are stepping up, right?
Yeah, yeah. So, Josiah Hammond and Demario Marzette, Jose Gonzalez, those guys have played. We had Logan Rowe going in there. We went into the game with a couple of linemen that were out. Had a linebacker that was out and a couple of secondary guys. So, that forced some of those guys to get some rotational roles, but we were able to see that they can do some things as well, and need a little bit more productivity out of that defensive front. But what they are doing is allowing some of those linebackers to make some big plays.
Offensively, I know Shaker he had some interceptions, which is unlike him, but they were also trying to confuse a little bit. They were pressuring a little bit. But when you look back now at some of those things, he did make a lot of mistakes. Are we looking at some things like maybe spot throws, that kind of thing, decision making, any of those things? What do you break it down to?
I thought it was his best game that he's played this year. Statistically, it's not going to show that, but when you have a guy that breaks out instead of in, it causes an interception. So there's some chemistry things, and some of that is we're just rotating so many different guys in positions due to injuries, and we're getting there. I think that for him to have a comfort level with the group that he has, will be there. And then you add a pressure that goes along with that, with guys trying to stop the run, loading the box, and it's going to click for us. In that realm, he's too good of a player for it not to. But overall, his trusting the play and trusting the throws and doing those things was about as good as he's played this year. So excited about him, and the rest of the team will get in sync with him, and we'll have a good unit, especially if you put the timetable of being ready for the playoffs. I have no doubt that we're going to have a team ready for that.
Well, and as you mentioned, sometimes it's that trust that can cause those things. You think a guy's going to do what he's supposed to do, and he doesn't, and everybody blames the quarterback, and that's not always the
Right.
case. Now that you've had games like this, lost a very tough overtime game where, really, I thought the guy was probably close to down. Anyway, you've had all those situations go on. You've won in a lot of different ways. How valuable is that for a young team as you grind through this part of the season?
I think it is. I think the thing that we're finding out is we're developing depth along the way. You don't ever like it, but when you're having to shift guys, and now we know that certain guys can play two different positions. he can only, play on the left or the right, or he can shift in and play this position, or, JT came in and played corner on the last
Mhm.
play of the game. So, guys that can play in different roles, and kind of come together as a unit. I think it kind of galvanizes a group. We know right now we're never out of a game. We've proven that to ourselves. As a coach, I know we're not. I know the resiliency of our team, but we've got stuff to hang our hat on in those units. We still, I don't feel like played a complete game. We're not playing complementary football. The offense gets has a good drive and scores, and then maybe the kick return lets up a big one right after that, or the defense gives up a fourth and 13 touchdown. I mean, we're just not playing complementary football with each other, and if we can get two out of the three phases to play together with each other, we'll have some solid victories, and have some more experience to grow from and understand what kind of football team we can be.
Well, it's interesting, isn't it, that even with that being the case, still 3-1 in what have not been easy games. So there's something about that group that finds whatever it needs, that digs down to find that. Beginning of the season, we always talk about personality. Is that becoming this group's personality, just whatever it takes?
I think so. I will tell you this as their head coach. When I look an adverse situation, I still feel like, we get a penalty and it comes 3rd and 12. I still feel like we have a kid that's going to make a play and get a first down. I haven't lost confidence in our kids and their ability to make plays, and they're continuing to show me that in practice, and we've just got to get out of our own way a few times and put together a little more consistency. Really on both sides of the ball, our effort level is high, and so for me, that can overcome a lot of mistakes.
Before we switch to Owasso, you mentioned kicking game and some things like that because Litchfield has been very good. You told us before the season that he wore the leather up balls trying to get better, and it shows. But so's Miles Davis. He may have been your MVP in the Jinx scheme, keeping them backed up, but so is your son. JT has saved this team. I can't imagine how many yards by fielding punts correctly, punts that a lot of times guys would have let bounce. Your hidden yards numbers right about now, I'm not sure how charted they are, but to me, they got to be off the roof. You got to be pretty happy about your group up there.
Yeah, I really am. One of the things that we've set as a goal every week is to win the punt. It just simply says that, win the punt, and that we put return yards into that, whatever the net punt is for both teams. Last week we won it by about 14 yards. And like you said, didn't have any return yards, but we didn't let the ball roll down the field. And Miles is doing a great job. We know he's an outstanding kicker. And continues to get better and better. And really proud of our kickers in that unit, and need to do a little better in our return game, whether it's kick return or punt return. But overall, yes, the hidden yardage is big for us.
Yeah, and it's going Union's way. All right, let's turn our attention to a really good Owasso team that's coming in here. On film, when you see them, what jumps out at you first?
We talked about, complete teams, and as a head coach, you want to see all three phases, and that's one of the things that's working so well for them. And I said something a couple weeks ago when I was watching, one of their games, that it seems like everything that they call is working, and that's a credit to one thing. You can always look; it'll be really, I mean, obviously besides effort. But when everything's working, it goes to the trenches. I mean, it's the O line, it's the defensive line, it's those guys that are making a difference in what they're doing. So they're very, very strong and very physical in both sides, offense and defensive in the trenches. And then, return game. They've got kick returns for touchdowns. They've got interceptions for touchdowns. And then you add in the depth that they have at the receiving core and the running back core, multiple guys that have scored touchdowns. So it's a complete game. Their coaches are doing a great job in putting kids in those positions to do that. And they're the hot team right now. And so, it'll be really difficult. It'll take our best effort to come out with a win.
You see their quarterback, Drew Frankenfield, pardon me. He's a guy that began the year, people thought, all right, maybe he's a pretty good player, but he's been really, really good. He's been better than that. When you see film of him, what's he been really good at?
Yeah, he's managed the game really well. He hasn't put him in bad situations. Very few turnovers. He's not trying to do too much. And then, in some of the games, the I don't want to say deceptive speed because we know he's fast and he's just making the right decisions on when to pull the ball down and make things happen and really playing ahead of himself, what I would think age wise, and really impressed with him.
You certainly know Antonio Graham. You know most of the guys on that staff. And Antonio told me when he took that job, without being disrespectful, he said, this has been Bill's program, but I want to put my stamp on it. When you see this team of Antonio's, as opposed to say teams with Bills in the past, do you see a difference in something? How would you characterize it if you do?
I've been asked that question this week, and it's like I said, when you have a team as strong as they are, it's hard to put your finger on exactly what it is, and I just knowing his personality, I know they're playing extremely tough. I know that there's a lot of grit within what they're doing, and they're making plays happen, and I think that's the thing that Antonio brings to the table is just the toughness of, hey, we're going to make this one happen. And to me, that's what you see. That's what you see, the yards after catch, or you see the defensive lineman that's making that play happen. I think that type of mentality is what he brings to the table, and he's doing a great job. Proud of him.
Well, the big house is going to be rocking.
Yes, it's going to be a lot of fun. We've had some great games, and with Owasso, these have always been district games that have had a lot of implications on them as far as the playoffs and who's going to be district champion and those things. And it's been a lot of fun over the years playing this game, and we look forward to it.
That being said, knowing they're 4-0 coming in, and again, kids read, they have friends, everybody knows what's happening at school. Have you had to actually maybe downplay a little this week, or how are you handling that? Because I got to think your guys are even more excited.
Well, I think the one thing about being at Union is I mean, you look at our stadium, you look at the history of our football program. These kids growing up knowing what these games are. You don't play at Union, you don't coach at Union thinking you're not going to play in big games. I mean, the expectation is every week's a big game for us because everyone plays their best against us, and so our kids are used to it. I think they would be disappointed if they weren't playing in a big game. So we look forward to it.
Well, it should be fun, and I guarantee you we'll have ourselves about 3.5 hours of pure entertainment there.
Yeah,
Thanks very much, Coach.
you bet. Thank you.